4 years after my mother stood in front of her entire church and told everyone I had vanished. My brother knocked on my front door, and the second his eyes found my daughter standing behind me, every drop of color drained from his face. My name is Callie Merrick. I'm 34 years old, an ICU nurse working 12-hour shifts, and for 6 years I quietly bankrolled my entire family's life. It started the night I graduated nursing school. My mother slid a cream envelope across the table, warm smile patting my hand. "For the house," she said. "You're the one who made it out." Inside was nothing but a blank sheet of paper. I filled it anyway from my first paycheck and mailed it back. Another envelope came the next month. And the next, nobody ever asked twice. The asking had already happened once, dressed up as pride. By year 2, I was sending $1,400 a month automatically, sometimes $2,000, a roof, a truck transmission. My brother's car, every emergency landed on me while I worked every holiday shift for double pay and kept a private notebook, tracking every dollar to the cent, because numbers, unlike my family's words, never lied. The cracks appeared the night I was too exhausted to send the transfer on time. My mother didn't yell. Her voice went flat like a bill. "You don't get to be tired," she said. "You're the one who made it." I apologized twice. I was 29, apologizing for sleeping after keeping strangers alive all night. Then everything I loved collapsed at once. My fiancé Sawyer, a builder who proposed with a brass key instead of a ring, died in a construction accident. My family didn't come to the funeral. 7 hours was too far. Weeks later, grieving and fainting on shift, I found out I was pregnant. Alone, terrified, and told by a specialist that stress could cost me the baby, I finally called my mother to say I needed to stop sending money. Just long enough to survive this. She exploded before I could explain why. The line went dead. My father told me, "Don't upset your mother." Nobody asked if I was okay. Not once, so I stopped. I moved 7 hours away to Portland, built a small, quiet life, and delivered my daughter, Nora, completely alone in a hospital room with no family in sight. Only a friend who held my hand and cut the cord because someone who loved me needed to be the one to do it. Back home, my mother never told anyone I'd cut contact. She simply let silence do the lying for her. "We don't really know anymore," she told her congregation, dabbing dry eyes with a tissue. Nobody corrected her. By the next year, the church was calling me the daughter who disappeared. She never spoke a single lie. She just declined, again and again, to speak the truth, and let 200 people write the story for her while she wept on cue every time. 4 peaceful years passed, until my elderly grandmother got sick and refused to keep pretending. "Bring me Callie," she told the family flatly, "or bring me a phone. I won't die in a house full of liars." That's how my brother ended up on my porch, sobbing at my kitchen table, asking questions no one in my family had ever asked me before. And that's how, within a single week, my mother turned my quiet reappearance into a staged public homecoming at her church, without asking me a single thing. I almost stayed home. Then, the night before, my daughter murmured in her sleep, "Mommy, do I have a grandma?" I realized my silence would only ever become my mother's raw material. So I went. Not with bank statements, not with a rehearsed speech, just the truth and my daughter's hand in mine. 200 people watched my mother extend the microphone toward me like a communion plate. "Come give thanks with me," she said. I didn't take it. I walked to the front of that sanctuary empty-handed, and for the first time in years, I wasn't afraid. I said the number out loud for the first time in my life, $100,000, and told them exactly where 4 of those years had actually gone. A funeral, a dangerous pregnancy, a daughter born completely alone while not one person checked on me. Then I turned to my mother and handed back, 5 years late, the exact sentence she once gave me. "I was allowed to be tired, Mom, just never here." Her composure, held for 40 years, finally cracked. "How dare you?" she said, voice splitting through the microphone. I never once raised mine. In a room built for echoes, quiet turned out to be the loudest thing I could bring. I introduced my daughter to her great-grandmother in front of the entire congregation, took her small hand, and walked out past the people who had spent 4 years praying for a woman who was never actually missing. My mother caught me at the door and, for the first time in her life, said something completely unscripted. "Everything I did for this family." She meant it. That's the saddest part of all. I looked at her, my daughter on my hip, and said the sentence I had spent 30 years earning the right to say. Being needed is not the same as being loved, Mom.